This is a boo. A boo is a male dromedary camel. The difference between dromedaries and Bactrians, the main difference is the number of humps. A Bactrian camel, capital B, laying on its back would have 2 humps in it. That's a Bactrian in there. A dromedary camel, a capital D, laying on its back would have 1 hump in it. This is a dromedary. This guy happens to be my favorite animal on the farm. His name is a boo. He is sweet and loving and sort of a dork, so we get along real well. The most interesting thing about a camel is their ability to store and use water in the form of fat. On the hottest day in the desert, a camel can go 10 days to 2 weeks with not a single drop of water. In that period of time, they can lose 30% of their body mass to dehydration. So if this guy lost 30%, that would be 400 pounds to dehydration. If that guy lost 30%, that's 500 pounds to dehydration. If you Google search biggest camel in North America, we'll tell you Ed, walking up right there, is the biggest camel in North America. I don't have any personal first-hand knowledge if that's true or not, but that's what Google says. That guy out there is 7.5 feet tall, weighs 1,750 pounds. This guy weighs 1,250, and you would still call this one large, but that one is ginormous. So the camel, if he lost 30%, this guy, that would be losing 400. He would be losing 500. If I lost 30% of my body mass because I had no water for 10 days, that would be 60 pounds. If I lost 60 pounds because I had no water for 10 days, there's a special word for that condition, and that word is, that's the one. And if the camel had lost 500 pounds because he had no water for 10 days, the word for his condition is thirsty. And if the camel is thirsty, oh my goodness, he's thirsty. If the camel had actually lost 30% of his body mass, his hump up top would be loose and floppy, hanging off one side or the other. The way the baby one is right there, his humps just haven't filled up yet because he's a baby. But if you knew what you were looking at, you would see the camel to be skinny and emaciated all over his body in that condition. But mainly you would just see the hump hanging off one side. If the camel got into that condition, that camel out there could drink 50 gallons of water in less than 3 minutes. That is quite a feat because the camel only has 1 tank in his stomach for liquid, one tank in him for liquid water, and that is his stomach. His stomach only holds 7 to 10 gallons of water, so where on earth is 50 going to go? So the way that it works, as the camel dehydrates, his red blood cells go from oval, just walk down to flat. That accounts for about 150 pounds of weight loss. Same time his fat cells shrink from normal for a human to from normal for a camel to normal for a human. Camels, like people, are born with the approximate number of fat cells that we will ever have, but camels, like people, our fat cells can be very different size at different times in our life. We're all normal sized people, so suppose this was normal size for a human fat cell, and we had a burning desire to start the show My 600-Pound Life, and we ate food with no limits for a long period of time. Our fat cells could go from something like this to something like that, dozens or hundreds of times our original volume. Camel is the opposite. He walks around with his fat cells the size that we would call super morbidly obese, and as he dehydrates, they shrink all the way down to what we might call normal. So severely dehydrated for a camel is our normal. Super morbidly obese for us is a camel's normal. Difference is, for a human to go from this to that is decades or a lifetime of unlimited access to ridiculous amounts of food. For a camel, when he gets to the other side of the desert and he is going to pound down literally 30 to 50 gallons of water, his red blood cells will go from flat, just right back to oval, as fast as he can swallow the water. And then his fat cells will go from normal for a human to normal for a camel again, as fast as he can swallow the water. So about 40 seconds on an individual cell basis, about 3.5 minutes. That is his trick. He is the kissing camel. You just cued him in. So he can go from emaciated, near expiring, to completely ready to turn around and walk all the way back across the desert in about 3.5 minutes with a drink of 30 to 50 gallons of water. So what this taught me about the Bible, in the Old Testament, when it says that the servant is looking for a bride for his master's son, And he says, "O Lord, let it be a sign to me that the young woman would offer to water not only me, but the camels as well." See how it bounces? Their poop is dry enough to light it with a match when it hits the ground. That's important in the desert because he is your walking Kingsford container. There's nothing in the desert you can burn. If you want to have a campfire, you can't burn sand. So you need to gather up everything your camel drops off. Fortunately, it doesn't smell. That is how you have a campfire at night in the desert. All right, so the Bible, when he says, "O Lord, let it be a sign to me that the young woman would offer to water not only me, but the camels as well." Before I had camels, I'm like, so what? Can we talk about a burning bush, a bush from above? Throw out a sheet of wool, do something. Now that I have camels and I understand this one could drink 30, that one could drink 50, and back up a few verses, he was walking with 10 loaded with gifts. Now we're talking about some girl going to dip up 300 to 500 gallons of water with a bucket. That hits a little different. So what I learned from that is the fact that I don't understand something in the Bible does not mean it was wrong. It just meant I didn't understand. So anyhow, this guy is the kissing camel. If you want to kiss the camel, you walk up and you say, "Boo boo." He says, "This is the carrot, man," and there's no carrot. And the camel will give you a kiss. Makes a great photo. Anybody want a camel kiss? You know it. Gotta walk all the way to him, make noise big and loud. Oh boy, boo boo. You guys want to give him a kiss? If you want to just take a picture with him, you can stand like this. And if you have long arms or a friend, you can get your picture. Yep. Good job. Go ahead, buddy. It's now. You wore the right shirt for the day. See, it says it's now. It crosses out, or never. Boy, good move. All right, while he gets the other camel ready, I'll keep doing the camel talk. So, other things about a camel beyond his ability to store and use water. Camel's nose is slit-shaped, has about a gazillion hairs in there. As the camel exhales, all of those hairs that go all the way back to the crook of his neck strip all of the water vapor out of his breath as he breathes out. So he is exhaling only dry air. As he breathes back in, that same water vapor moisturizes the air on the way down to his lungs so that he doesn't suffer so much from the, come here, take one step. So he doesn't suffer so much from the dryness of the desert air. Camel has 3 eyelids. His first eyelid closes to make his eye watertight. His second eyelid closes against the sand, but he can see through it. His third eyelid closes to close his eyes. They're all 3 voluntary muscles. He can choose to close 1 or 2 or 3. His ears, nose, eyes, lips, everything closes up airtight and watertight so he doesn't lose water vapor just to walking in the desert. Big long legs make a big difference for the camel. If you're at a campfire and you hold your hands down here, you're going to burn your hands right off. You hold them just this high up, it's a whole lot more comfortable. Camel is that far off of the ground. At the surface temperature of the sand, it might be 130, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Come up here to the bottom of the camel, it's probably dropped down to around 100, so it's a whole lot better. Also, the big legs let the air swirl all around him so that the wind will carry away the heat from him, and that means he doesn't need to sweat so much. That saves him a lot more water. The camel, if you look at his legs, he's got worn out looking spots all over the fronts and backs of his legs like this, right? So these are the places where his skin is going to touch the ground. When he lays down, when he goes down, he cushions. He goes down like this. These are the places where his skin is going to touch the ground. So he's got leathery, callousy patches everywhere it's going to touch the ground. Keeps him from burning his skin on the sand. This right here is his sternum plate, also called his pedestal. His pedestal is 6 or 8 inches thick, goes up inside of him. When he lays down onto the ground, the sternum plate or pedestal touches the ground, and his body cavity does not. Leaves a gap about like that between his belly and the sand. It may not sound like a huge difference, but if you think of this as your stovetop and this is your hand, that will lever you with that little tiny gap right there, because that's conduction, that's convection. Hundreds of times slower convection is than conduction is. So we already talked about when he goes poop, it's dry enough to light it with a match when it hits the ground. That's an important thing. His poop doesn't smell like anything, but in the desert his pee smells like straight ammonia because he recycles the water over and over and over through himself. The camels, a lot of people are not aware that camels are just as good in the cold as they are in the heat. You can leave a camel outside for a dromedary down to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. A Bactrian can stay outside. They are wild all the way up into Siberia. It can withstand 60 and 70 Fahrenheit below zero when it's out in the wilds in Siberia.
Do you help?
Hey, what?
Do you need any help?
No, I'm good right now. What are you working on?
No.
Say what?
No.
Oh, will you make sure if any firewood needs delivered?
There's nothing.
No? Is there any firewood down there to leave up under wagons? I don't think there is, but I don't know. Well, we didn't deliver any yesterday, did we? Okay. Probably don't need to.
They hold the trust, but I'll ask Mom.
All right.
I guess all that moisture control for the desert works the same for the cold climates, keeping the.
It does, yeah. So if it literally is 60 and 70 below, like up in Siberia, they will go into a ravine and get buried in snow, and then the snow cave actually can get a whole lot warmer inside, and they can exist for weeks or months in the snow cave by the water that their body heat melts, and they can go that long without food. Now what they actually eat here, they drink about 15 gallons of water every day, and they, between the two big camels, they eat about 50 pounds of feed every day, and in the winter time they eat a whole bale of hay every day between the two. But the camels, this camel is my favorite animal on the farm. His name is Abu. Ed and Abu are both 15 years old. They are utterly codependent. They were born on the same farm a few days apart, and in their lives they have never been apart. You get them to where they can't see each other, they will tear the place down. When I first brought them in here into these two stalls, I thought they were going to break the barn. And I had to take them back to the other barn and cut that window in between the two stalls, and then they were fine.
So they're a herd animal?
They are, yeah. Yep, and a bull camel is a dangerous animal. You don't mess around with a bull camel anymore. You mess around with a bull. But these are neutered males. They're very, very trained camels. All right, for you guys that are on the encounter, we're going to go out and do the ride now. For you guys, thanks for joining us today. Do you guys have another thing this afternoon? No? Okay. Food options around here if you're not cooking out tonight. Ocoee Deli and Diner, American style food, burgers, fries, spaghetti, salads, chicken parm is good. Pot roast is all right, not great. But my wife makes amazing pot roast, so I'm prejudiced. Everything else that they cook there, I like. The two Mexican restaurants are right over this way. They're less than 2 miles away. The same guy owns.
In the grand orchestra of God's creation, where harpy eagles soar with majestic speed and jaguars prowl with fierce agility, there exists a creature that dances to a rhythm all its own, a slow, deliberate cadence that whispers of divine wisdom and unhurried grace. This is the sloth, a masterpiece of intentional design that challenges our human obsession with haste and productivity. Far from being a mere oddity, the sloth embodies the biblical truth that, in quietness and trust shall be your strength, Isaiah 30:15. It invites us to pause, reflect, and marvel at a creator who delights in diversity, crafting beings that thrive not through frenzy, but through perfect harmony with their environment. Here at Ocoee Riverside Farm, a sanctuary dedicated to showcasing the beauty and purpose of God's creatures, we are privileged to care for the two-toed sloth, belonging to the genus Coloepus, within the family Megalonychidae. These gentle architects of the treetops serve as a profound reminder that every detail in nature points to an all-wise designer who spoke the world into existence in 6 days and declared it very good. Genesis 1:31. As we embark on this deep exploration, we'll uncover the sloth's unique attributes, from its scientific classification to the intricate biology that reveals the hand of God at work. In Scripture, God's classification is evident in Leviticus 11, where animals are grouped by kinds. Sloths as a unique xenarthran kind, their extravertebral joints a signature of the Creator's engineering for stability and strength. Now, let's deepen our look at the sloth's symbiotic relationships, a microcosm of God's interdependent web. The fur, as mentioned, hosts algae, Trichophilus welkeri, that thrive in the humid grooves, providing not just camouflage but potential nutrients via skin absorption. This green tint blends the sloth with mossy branches, rendering it invisible, a natural cloak of invisibility designed by the ultimate artist. But the ecosystem doesn't stop there. The sloth moth, Cryptosis choloepi, resides exclusively in this fur, with females laying eggs in the sloth's weekly dropping.